one thing, but what about the explicit world of a man's sexuality?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here. And male sexuality is a bodily function. It's a necessity. You just have to do it.
When we come back, Nora goes to... Over the 18 months of venturing out in the world as a man, Nora Vincent guesses she put on Ned's whiskers and clothes about 150 times. After the bowling league, she was ready for love and sex. You went to a couple of sex clubs. What were you trying to get at?
Well, at first I thought this is sort of the quintessential guy thing to do, right? The bachelor party at the strip club. When I told people initially that I was doing this, they'd say, oh, you got to go to a strip club.
She says the clubs were obviously sexual, but once again lacking in intimacy, which leaves men emotionally frustrated.
I saw the men there. I saw them sitting alone, nursing their bourbon, and this is not about appreciation of women, of course. It's not about appreciation of their own sexuality. It's about an urge, and that's not always that pleasurable, really.
These guys who go to these high-priced clubs would say, this isn't about pain, it's about pleasure.
Men have had the tears and the emotional or the to really say.
Nora says strip joints are about pure sex drive, completely empty of any meaningful interaction, even when a woman is gyrating on your lap. But you're attracted to women. Were you ever aroused during any of these?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here.
Whereas for men, Nora says, sexuality is, shall we say, below the waist.
At its core, it's a bodily function. It's a necessity. It is such a powerful drive, and I think because we don't have testosterone in our systems, we don't understand how hard it is. So there are ways to look at it like that mean men have more for you also than just your bodily function, not your mind itself being controlled and manipulated. What P. Ways talk about? They found men crying after sex or the sex act itself, or men having their own turn on fetishes or favorites. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Sex Theory. Today we're talking about the science and myths and misconceptions about the male and female sex drive. One thing, humans are the only animals that have sex for pleasure and bonding. We know dogs. Like there's Pitwalla coming up, or there's going to be a Pitwalla. They're making a Pitwalla.
It's time to talking about oral. All right, everyone, it's time to put on our big kid hats because we're talking about oral sex. Hi guys, I'm Katie Wayne and this is Animalist News. In a relatively recent study published earlier this month in the journal Zoo Biology, scientists have observed a new animal that engages in oral sex: brown bears. Two male brown bears who live together in a sanctuary in Croatia were seen participating in regular oral sex over the course of 6 years. The smaller of the two bears would initiate, and once the receiver finished, he often pushed the other bear away with his hind legs or turned away. Why he's so cold, though? Oral sex is actually rather common in the animal kingdom, so today we're going to count down the...
My last video, my last video was about the nutritional value of cum and stuff, of course being absorbed to the vagina too. There are some species that do reverse that, like with ferrets, but you also need to have females. Or the epaulette shark for the females to actually rape the males. Also keep the few and females who can relate.
Imagine doing something boring, like riding the subway or typing away at an expense report, and suddenly your body sends you a very clear message. You need to have sex. Not like a sex fantasy about someone you're attracted to. Rather, you get an intense feeling in your genitals that can only be relieved by sex. You try to ignore it, but it's not going away. And it doesn't care how inappropriate it is for the moment. For a small number of women, this unfortunate situation is reality, and it's one of the rarest and newest sexual disorders out there, titled Persistent Genital Arousal Disorder.
There's actually more overlap, more within the genders, for the same thing, just in different proportions and arrangements. Within is also the individual. My original theory, first thought was as testosterone creates a craving for estrogen, and estrogen creates a craving for testosterone.
There are other chemicals, also other chemicals and triggers when impulses from one brain would inspire, trigger that in others. Everyone, that's why it's called chemistry. Usually, the cells and other cravings from the female body it builds up, waiting for the releases, tell the body to have sex once the ovum is complete and ready to go. Yet those cells telling her, while sperm, on the other hand, is quickly replenished and always telling you they want to be released to the female's body. Although sperm can live 5 days in a woman's body to be ready before the egg is released. And or you talk about nutritional value, even prepping the woman's immune system to accept the baby as a hypothesis or something like RNA gene expression. Bottom line, the female sex drive is more in cycles, but can be turned on prematurely.
It's up here.
Using modern methods. There's a guy at Caltech, a guy named David Anderson, who studies things like aggression and whatnot. So they did this study a few years ago, looking at an area of the hypothalamus called the ventromedial hypothalamus. And what they eventually discovered is they have two populations of neurons in the structure, some that are responsible for mating and some for fighting. Using modern methods, what the Anderson lab showed is that if you trigger activation of one set of neurons in this ventromedial hypothalamus, the males will go and mount the female and mate, as in mice. Just to kind of explain just how strong these switches in the brain are, if you at that moment turn off those neurons and turn on the neurons that are right near them that are responsible for aggression, the male mouse will try and kill the female mouse. It's so extreme that if you just give a male mouse a glove and you turn on these neurons, the mouse will just go into a rage and try and kill the glove. There's a guy they have. So a good friend of mine, Eddie Chang, he's the chair of neurosurgery at UCSF. He's spends his life and he makes his living probing around in the brain of people who have epilepsy, looking for the site where if they stimulate, the person will have a seizure so that they can burn that area out or make some other manipulation. And he's told me that he's been you can't poke around at random, right? You can't, every scientist would love the course of a lot of these drugs and how they hit market is super interesting. I've been learning more and more about this and mating.
Something that would increase the sex drive in females and decrease the sex drive on males. Again, at least to study the social implications, because how the mind, like nature, nurture. About to get to that, actually there is, and actually more common, something that would, say, lower inhibitions, something that would actually block signals from your body telling you to have sex, or you don't do this. Alcohol, plenty of alcohol.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Sam Robbins. Today I'm going to discuss why alcohol is killing your sex drive.
At least I just say from below the waist. Drunk sex. Yeah, see, this is how they physically are, but this is the thing, Lord, increased female sex drive on males.
Women always blame themselves, and then the man never has to take responsibility.
If that were so, then wouldn't the women be seen as the predators and the men seen as the victims? What alcohol does to your man? Yeah, there are plenty of cases where actually turns out the girl is actually the rapist. This double standard they run into law, actually, about alien abductions.
/psych, that's PSYCH, to learn more. Every now and again, abducted by aliens. You know about this. You're on the internet. Considering we don't have any substantial evidence of life beyond Earth, almost everyone tends
Make a
to
separate
dismiss
video.
these claims, but hear me out. Maybe we shouldn't, because once you start looking at these stories and where they come from, you begin to realize that there might be something really interesting happening here psychologically. Ultimately, researchers don't believe these claims can tell us anything about life in space, but they can tell us how our brains try to explain the unexplained. Claimed to remember their abductions was significantly worse at this. They were more likely to misremember the original. Researchers believe this jump happens when people lean into those cultural narratives about BT.
Or rape.
Maybe because they want to believe, or maybe because someone asks them targeted questions. In any case, they can end up convincing themselves that they were abducted by aliens. And
Point entering false memory. If you're abducted by aliens, you actually would think you're dreaming, but when something more down to earth or thing more considered more general reality, be more likely to be the thing for a real, genuine memory. Often drunk don't remember what happened the night before. They just lean to cultural narratives.
She had to laugh because she didn't know what else to do with your hand on her boob.
Also saying that girls, all women are faking, or they're faking their desire for men, or faking it when they like men. We're supposed to make men feel insecure. I'll talk about that issue later about why. Do you know how many of Bill Cosby's accusers don't actually just assume they were raped because they're with him the night before and don't remember what happened? Even the narrative to fill in the gaps.
What he's going through. 36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer, right? I had one beer. Well, you think it was, nope, there was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know.
It wasn't the fact they need blocked so much from their memory so much that you should prioritize the non-giving false wrongful convictions over their thing that's emotional, get over it, which they by their own accusation they don't remember, which would seem quite easily. They're going too political now. And many laws, even thought and culture attitudes based on that, more given that kind of centrism. And the thing that men in general are ugly or disgusting. An irony, like the MGTOW channels themselves, the management channels themselves, push the narrative that the most disgusting thing about a woman is that she likes men. That's the reason for a woman having sex with a bunch of men lowers her marketplace value. Even though the female equivalent of a player is actually the bombshell. The girl, a lot of guys can't stop thinking about it, fall in love with her, and do anything for her, even without problems of sex. Like a selection of maternal side might be how much a male invests in a certain female or offspring. The Victorian era was about the men being disgusting, having to be loved in spite of being male and love being the female centric. From the female side, if she does enjoy sex too, then sex being his reward, she gets free sex and actual labor out of it. Not for labor. The white woman will pretend not to like sex or like a guy. And then that might actually make it itself true because like you're a threat, she would feel more threatened. Like, or at least her power through her own feelings, or like an ego. And narcissism also plays a sex role in both genders, in both people too, in sex drive. Turn people on. Actually, for one reason, men rape. Women grab each other all the time.
How about, hey guys, don't.
Yeah, tell swiper no swiping. No wonder blue states have all the crime. They think they just tell swiper no swiping, as if no one ever thought to tell people don't commit crimes. The entire point of making something illegal. Yeah, this is a college education for you. You're getting a better education right now on the internet. That's why a lot of men rape, because they feel disgusting and think that nobody likes them. Men rape it. See, men feel empowered by, you don't like me, but I'm going to force myself onto you. Women get ego by denying sex. Female ego could be going by the power to deny sex, something they feel everyone needs, they can't resist. The male ego, based on desert or power trip, comes from forcing sex. Also, you have to admit, drunk male rapists go more to hugging and touching, gomping on you. Nothing gonna blow the waist, but still, you wouldn't want that on. Till you're disgusted. And I also could say like a male emotions or like a female sex drive. What one gender wants out of the other, but it's kind of a turn off if it's too open with it. And there could be broad argument between both, but not being too emotional or too sexual. Again, there's actually more gender overlap. There's actually a bigger difference between individuals. Different proportions, different value, different amounts.
Scientists have long held that there are differences between men's and women's brains. The Tel Aviv team wanted to find out if those differences are significant enough to create two distinctly different types of brain, such as there are distinctly male and female reproductive organs.
And to answer this question, we looked at over 1,400 brains from different samples. In each sample, we determined the regions showing the largest differences, and then we asked whether these differences add up. So whether if a subject is on the female end, as you can see here, on the female end of the continuum in one region, whether this subject will also be on the female end of the continuum on all other regions. And what we found is that this is very rare.
So the researchers determined that specific parts of the brain do show sex differences, but an individual brain rarely has all male or all female traits. So what are the social repercussions of the finding?
One repercussion is you're mutilating children for nothing. The college education is proven.
I pretend to be a rat for my father. I pretend to be a human through Linguini. I pretend you exist so I have someone to talk to. You only tell me stuff I already know. I know who I am. Why do I need you to tell me? Why do I need to pretend?